Well, here's a quickie. I'm having a polite debate with a Universal Life Church minister, one of my peeps. We don't talk too often, so it's not unusual to have a difference of opinion with anybody, or whatever. And one of the things that I've noticed in my differences, here we go. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of quoting, but get this. How I express myself is just exactly what it is. I'm expressing myself. How the fuck is it any different than anything else in this world? And I almost found myself defending the word fuck, because if you say fuck in a context manner, or in a context manner, it's equally as bad as being not in context. And I thought that was weird. I'm like, why do I have to defend the way I speak? I was actually kicked out of a Universal Life Church group that my friend had started and had a couple of admins, and I was actually kicked out for having one of these videos. Because anytime I post up a video of me expressing myself, if I use profanity, watch out. Oh. If people are that sensitive where they had kicked me out because the way I speak and articulate myself, I don't need to be around those people who are that sensitive. Now, it's it's kind of a catch-22. I kind of blew up on a guy who openly spoke racist and even sexist in my classroom about other classmates, to include myself, actually. It was kind of a funny story. And I blew up at him because my last 3 job assignments, if you would, places I worked at, had a zero tolerance for any form of racial discrimination, ethnic discrimination, or even gender discrimination by the harassment laws that they came from. I mean, even here in Florida, I worked for Walt Disney, and if you didn't call your right angle wired cutters, and you called them dykes, you would not be working for Walt Disney World. Believe it or not, if you actually kind of Google it, you can call them dykes because it's an anachronism for the actual name brand of the wire cutter that made them. But that's another story. But it was political correctness, and got out of hand to a point where I even worked as a housing police officer, and it was a black officer and a white officer. The white officer said it smelled like coconuts in here, and the black officer took offense. And of course the white officer got written up and later terminated. He didn't mean anything by it because the black officer actually wore coconut lotion. Yeah, but it was also a racial epithet back in the 1990s in the city of Boston. Go figure. So, what is this got to do with me? Well, if you look at it culturally speaking, we have a tolerance, ill tolerance for a lot of different things. And one of the things is profanity. And I use it to express myself. I also use it to say something that'll be out of the norm to wake you the fuck up. Ta-da! But when I have someone who, and I still like the guy, so I can't really bash him, and he's not really telling me what to say or do necessarily, but it seems to me you could be you without using the F word. I think you're stretching things a bit by saying, I told him basically, why should I lie to myself? If I see something that's going to be fucked up, I'll be saying, hey, that shit's fucked up. That's how I express myself. Now, if I'm doing a service, a Sunday service or something, I might curtail myself because I'll be with little kids. But if I'm with grown-ass adults, well, let's do blue, because that's how we all kind of talk amongst each other. And if we don't, that's fine, but we kind of, we're grown-ups. We can handle it. Or better yet, change the channel. When I was kicked out, or even censored, if you want to call it that, that's what initially bothered me. And of course, my natural state of rebellion wants to go over and fight it. But it's not my group. So I made another ULC group. So Universal Life Church Online Plus. So it's basically explaining those who are Universal Life Church members who have a problem being censored or shut down for expressing themselves. So they're responsible for their own actions. But when you're part of a group that feels as though that you don't meet a particular norm, I've been kicked out of several different interfaith type groups because of the way I express myself, or they don't feel I'm appropriate for that environment. So my thinking is, is it me? I don't care if it's me. In fact, I embrace the fact I am me. Because otherwise, if I have to make, I'm dealing with over 60 religions in my church. So if I have over 60 religions, I'm not going to make one group more happier than the other. Or in other words, I can't make everybody happy. So I just be me. So my friend pops in and says, you're lying, refrain from using foul language. I mean, use filters, act appropriate to surroundings. My surroundings is my camera. The audience has the choice to view my view my post or not. And if you're offended, you know what to do. Not watch them. You can even get on my account and hit block. See, people don't take responsibility for their actions, not to regulate mine. It just shows me the weaker mindset, because it would rather control me and what I say versus having they have control on the TV. You just simply block that channel. You can block me. But that's too much to ask. People want to have that ability to censor other people or control the free speech that we so desperately need to have and don't exercise too often. So that's my answer to my friend Mr. Andrews. Because if I am responsible for my actions, why do people feel they need to delegate what I do or censor what I do if they have control of their own actions by just simply blocking me out? Now, if I'm in a public standing, if I'm with and I thought about this with Access Sanctuary and Chapels, I figured I was going to do what's called an evening, like I have a group called the World According to Ronald French, or Rev.Ronald French, and people have to ask to come in my group because they know what they're getting into when they deal with my silly ass. But if I'm going live, I'm going in front of people, if I'm doing a Sunday service, morning, afternoon, I will do my filters, as you would call it. I would call it my rated G show. Bullshit. PG-13. Because my NC-17 will be the evening with Ronald French, where I'll do a night service, and it would be a monologue, and it would be about basically how I am, how I interpret things, and what I see. Maybe even a two-way conversation. Who knows? But yeah, those are the filters I would imply in real life, in a real life setting. But videos, people who watch them have more control than me actually producing and posting them. They can control that. They can go off and say, there's a selector on the thing that says you can choose what you want to see or not see. But they don't choose to control their environment. They wish to control mine. Now, this isn't just about me anymore. I'm a metaphor to what's going on around you and the world around you. Not my friend Mr. Andrews, but you who watch this. Because you have control of what you want to see and don't see. You take that control. Another funny thing is, if you're a person who likes to make announcements, whether you type it or if you're on video, don't be ashamed of what you say and how you express yourself. To quote Cartman in the movie South Park, the musical there, whatever that was, fuckity fuck fuck fuck. Now, what's the big deal with a word named fuck? And George Carlin had 7 words of what you cannot say on TV. And he says they're just words, which are true. It's the context of the words and how they're presented that make the difference. But as grown-ass adults, we seem to lose that context thing. We lose that concept of how things are being used. So that's where it comes from. So my natural instinct when I get censored or kicked out of a group was to initially fight it at first. But as I'm getting a little older, and dare I say a little wiser, It's not me. It's not me. I know it's not me. I'm not in denial. Because if you have control of the simply shutting that off, you would have done so already. But instead, they come after you. They want to shut you off. They want to be the FCC. That's how I see it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I created my own channel, similar to the one I got booted out from. Why? Those who ever feel the same way about what it is that I feel and want to have a forum where you can talk and express whatever you want to talk about, do so. I don't care if you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, a Satanist, a witch, or a pagan. If you have a voice, voice it. You want to type, type it. You know, the only tolerance, the ill tolerance I have is ill tolerance and hatred. So if you hate something, explain why you hate it. And if it isn't really fathomable to be, you know, if someone stepped on my toe on purpose, I'd be pissed off at it. I would really hate them. But if you hate something for a reason that really doesn't directly affect you, well, I can see where the hate, hate comes from, and that's where my tolerance will pop up, or maybe my censor button would hit. And after all, who wants to see all that? So that's where I come with it. So maybe I have a rule or two of my own. Maybe I have my own set of standards. But when it comes to expressing oneself, I don't see how what you say and how you say it really is detrimental to the message that's being broadcasted. And if someone doesn't like what I have to say, then I put their arm behind their back and a gun to their head to watch. So when it comes to responsibility for the responsible, I think the Universal Life Church members are very soft and thin-skinned people because they have no other way to, they feel as though they want to be a ruling and controlled church. And then that's the case. It shouldn't be called Universal Life Church. It should be called Catholicism. I came from it. I know what rule and control is all about. I know what the thought police are and Big Brother. So that's how I see it. So there is an injustice in various collectives, but at various levels. So when it comes to the Universal Life Church online on the Facebook group, yeah, you post up a video and you express yourself, whatever thoughts you have, you're going to be booted out for saying the F word. Go figure. But again, do I really get upset over it? Initially, maybe, but that's just my swing instinct of defending myself. And and the comment was made about how it's a part of living with civilized society. I made a comment back. I could be at a motorcycle clubhouse, and I could be at the Ritz-Carlton. My fuck yous are more accepted at a Ritz-Carlton, because I've been there and said it before, than at a motorcycle clubhouse. Why? Because everything deals with context. So when I had someone who wanted to play a stupid game with me, and I'm dealing with people who are buying $1,000 a plate fundraiser, and I tell the person he's fucked up thinking he's going to do this, I actually had a cart full of people who stood up and said, "You're right, and we paid 10 grand to be here, you need to go away." They were the nice ones about it, but they didn't stop me from saying what I had to say. Mind you, Ritz-Carlton. So when it comes to how we speak and how we articulate, timing doesn't hurt either. But again, when you're dealing with videos like this, you have the power to shut things off. And yet here you are about to critique me. Give me a hard time. Tell me, sorry, you don't belong here because you might be offensive. Well, retard, change the fucking channel. I get the biggest kick out of stupidity. My fuse is so short in dealing with it. Now my friend Mr. Andrews, he's not the stupid one, but they're trying to set a standard over at the ULC. But when I bump into Universal Life Church, it's kind of like where Christians go when they fail in their own paradigm. Granted, they're more than just Christians, but what I've seen so far, a lot of them just simply don't belong to a particular church or paradigm thereof, become Christian failures join Universal Life Church not understanding what universalism really is about. And even one person tried to change it to be a totally Christian church. But if you're a universalist, that's not the case. It's a paradigm of many paradigms. All are included. To do what is right and to live a good life. It might be biblically based, but it takes in, with the universalism standpoint, of everything from the cosmos. So, I didn't fail the Universal Life Church group that I got booted out from. If anything, they failed themselves.